The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, dedicated to creating access to financial well-being for local people, businesses, and communities. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar in Hatfield, specializing in solar installations, battery storage, and clean energy solutions tailored to the homes and businesses of Western Massachusetts. Northeast-solar.com.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, all the babies and literature that a small store in Florence can handle at High Five Books with newly award-winning owner Lexi Walters-Wright.
Plus, interim word nerd and NEPM Jazz a la Mode host Peter Sokolowski helps us through the many ways we talk about many things with a look at how English deals with pluralization.
And in Greenfield, we're heading to the Poor Farm,
which has been reimagined and recultivated now in equity.
Well, it's time for another Local Hero Spotlight with a new CISA person, Clarissa Adan from CISA, the Local Hero, folks, Community Involved in Sustaining Agriculture. Clarissa, what do you do with CISA?
With CISA, I am the Food Access Program Coordinator. I work with farmers markets to help them get any kind of support that they need from us, and then I also run our Senior Farm Share program during the summer.
We're going to talk a little bit about access to food and how that all works and CISA's part in that with HIP, Healthy Incentives Program, and the state of Massachusetts' program to get better access to healthy, fresh food for folks.
Which just hit a milestone, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, $100 million through the life of the program given out in HIP incentives. So that is free fruits and vegetables to low-income people who are on SNAP, $100 million worth of it.
And we're at a farm that has a strong history of making sure people in the community have enough to eat. We're at Just Roots. Are we officially in Greenfield or are we in Leiden?
We're in Greenfield, yeah. Just
Leiden
Roots
Road.
in
We're
Greenfield.
so close
Yes.
to Leiden.
Hi, I'm Meryl Latronica. I'm one of the co-executive directors here at Just Roots.
And I'm Taylor Lopatovsky. I am the Farmers Market Manager at Greenfield Farmers Market.
Full disclosure, I am a member of Just Roots. It is my farm share. It gets delivered to my house every week. So put that out there, right there. And I go to the Greenfield Farmers Market very regularly.
To your house every week.
I know, it's pretty great.
Pretty sweet. Yeah, we have free delivery all throughout Franklin County this year.
That was the tipping point for us. We're like,
amazing.
we get so busy, sometimes it's hard to go pick up the farm share. And when Just Roots was doing it, it was like no brainer. So Meryl, tell us about the history of Just Roots. And this farm, as I had mentioned, it has a strong history of making sure people have access to food.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the history of Just Roots ever since the very beginning, low-income share access and just getting anybody vegetables that could be here was part of our founding kind of mission. And our very first CSA, which I think was in 2011, had about 35 members. 13 of those were subsidized for low-income members to access food, and we've just grown from there. And now we have over 98 families participating who are paying with SNAP and HIP, making it accessible for all people in our community to access the CSA program and local healthy food.
And even before that, this was called
the Poor Farm, where low income and working class people could grow food for themselves.
Literally called the Poor Farm.
Yeah, literally these farms were called poor farms or town farms. And this is one of the only intact poor farms that still exists in the country. So we have this barn was part of the original poor farm, and the building next to it, which is now a 12-unit residency, was the dormitories for men and women. But this was before Social Security came in. So any of our citizens who needed care, whether they were dealing with mental illness or they were dealing with poverty, they would come to the farm here, live here, and if they were able-bodied, they'd work on the farm. They really served as a place for people to come who needed support, and I think Just Roots still does that today. And I think carrying on the Poor Farm, Town Farm mission is really part of who we are. This property is owned by the city of Greenfield. We actually lease 61 acres from the city here. And fun fact, the owner of the farm before the city of Greenfield and before the Poor Farm was Justin Root. So that's how we got our name.
Just Roots. Oh, it is a clever name, and it's not Justin. Clever name. Taylor, talk about your relationship with both Just Roots and making sure people have access to food as part of the Greenfield Farmers Market, which is right in front of City Hall on Saturdays.
Just Roots is a very important part of the Greenfield Farmers Market. They're our biggest local farm that attends, and folks line up for Just Roots. Big fans of Just Roots. Just Roots does a lot of programs also on the side, educational things that everyone in the community benefits from. And CISA is awesome. I love Clarissa. Anything from, hey, can we get some more bumper stickers of Be a Local Hero, or helping educate me and others about HIP so that I can better educate the people who shop at the market. It's amazing there are still folks learning that they do have HIP benefits. I'll tell them it's fresh fruits, it's fresh veggies. Go get some raspberries, blackberries, blueberries. And it's exciting. It's an amazing program that Massachusetts does, and it's a very big part of the market.
We've explained it a bazillion times on the air, but very briefly, SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, is the federal program. You've got your SNAP debit card or something along those lines. HIP, the state-run program, Healthy Incentives Program, when you spend it on fresh fruits and veggies, you are instantly reimbursed with your SNAP dollars through state money.
That is it, and it is household size based, so you could get anywhere from $40 to $80 a month that you can use at an authorized vendor. So a farm stand that is authorized, a farmer's market that is authorized, where you can it's an instant rebate. That money is right back on your account. You never see it go away.
And it's really good for farms too, because farming is not well apportioned monetarily. Mm-hmm. So like having this state program that immediately puts money back into the hands of farmers is really important. And then to like planting and growing seasons too.
And so when budget cuts happen to HIP in the middle of the year, as has happened in years past, it's very detrimental to the farmers who have been planning on getting that money from HIP and have been growing to that end, and then all of a sudden the rug gets pulled out from them, from the state government. Yeah. That's why there's movement afoot to try to make sure that HIP stays funded to a certain specific level year after year.
We are so thrilled right now because our state just solidified that we had $21.5 million fully funded for HIP, plus carrying over another $9.5 million from fiscal year 26. So we are thrilled to have over $30 million funded for HIP in Massachusetts this coming year. And that was, looking back at our numbers, our income for 2025, when we saw that 9-month gap in HIP funding, our income at the farmers markets went way down. We have already this year had more income from just SNAP transactions than we saw in all of that fiscal year time last year when SNAP was cut. So it really impacts. We've seen 35 transactions per market at SNAP up to 45 already, just an increase pretty significantly for us. And we really count on that. We're really in a partnership with our community. And when people don't have the money to support our farms suffer, our vendors suffer, everybody struggles. So it's a really big deal for us.
Let's go see where my farm share gets grown.
Yeah.
We're walking around Just Roots in Greenfield, where I full disclosed that it is my farm share that gets delivered to my house every week. We got some good kale last time in the box. We got some great corn.
No, incredible. Are you a new member here?
Yes.
So how's it feeling?
It's been great because it shows up at your house. And like I've had so many great farm shares over the years, but a lot of times it's like, oh, which one of us is going to go? I love natural roots.
Yes,
I love being at Natural Roots, but like it's a journey to go there.
Yes.
And I love supporting them and kind of sharing the love between different farm shares. But this year it was like, hey, Just Roots is going to bring it right to our house.
I love that you've tried all sorts of different ones because we all have something a little special. We're all kind of the same and kind of different, and it's really fun to find the one that works for you. And that may change over the course of your life.
Yeah, we have an open relationship with the farms.
Yeah, exactly. Really smart. So do I.
We're poly-curious with CSAs.
Exactly.
We have 450 members this year who come, most of whom come to the farm. And I'm just like, are you serious? You're amazing. Like, that's a lot of work. But yeah, you're looking at our farm here, guys. Right here is our community garden part of our farm. So we have 65 garden plots. And our garden here is part of some of our superhero origin story of Just Roots. When we began in 2009, it was because a bunch of community gardeners down at the Pleasant Street Gardens wanted more gardening space. And they went to the mayor at the time looking for more downtown space to grow vegetables on and flowers. And the mayor at that time said, hey, we have a 60-acre parcel 4 miles north of town. Do you guys want to check that out? And from that prompted a whole RFP process in the city, and folks gathered together, gardeners, citizens who were interested in having a community farm, and they were able to essentially win the RFP. They had support from the Franklin County CDC. They had support from Mount Grace Land Trust at the time, who helped us put 31 of the 60 acres in an APR. And Just Roots really was born out of a real grassroots greenfield way of being, and sort of came to be this farm that we now know as Just Roots. And although we've evolved and we have a much larger CSA, we still have our workshops, we still have support for our gardeners, we train farmers, we focus on dealing with the climate extremes that were probably, if we really took a deep walk, we'd see some flooding today. But it's really been a a really grassroots effort to sort of start Just Roots, and we've really maintained that throughout our time here.
Can you talk about some of those educational components? Because like not every farm is teaching other farmers how to farm or like people how to grow things better.
We don't have a formal apprenticeship anymore. We really wanted to pay people a living wage and sort of say, this is farm labor work. We're going to pay you. We're going to give you sick time and time off. We've really kind of focused on how can we provide some benefits even to seasonal workers. But as a part of that, a kind of assistant growership, which we call it now, people are getting training on tractors. They're leading distributions. They're learning about seeding in the greenhouse. They're just really learning about like what does it take to run a community farm. We're holding this property, we're stewarding it for the city. So there's a lot of like, you might learn chainsaw work today, and you might learn supporting a gardener, and you might learn about like, oh, I love running the farmer's market and being downtown on Saturdays. So everyone sort of has a little different taste of what it means to be in a larger food system network. And we try to provide opportunity to grow. Like, do you want to stay here and develop out, or do you want to be launched into another part of our food system? And we just try to leave those pathways open for people. I've been here for about 10 years. We've since added 3 more hoop houses, a new greenhouse that we walk by. We also lease an additional 5 acres of land up and down the street from neighbors, and that was really in response to a lot of the climate extremes. 2023 really kicked our butts, guys. Imagine a lake just right in front of you, going through the entire garden, through the hoop houses, all the way down to the back field. So we really had to sort of think about how do we steward this land appropriately, and thinking about, you never know what's going to happen. Is it a drought? Is it a flood? What's going on? So we've really rearranged our growing since then.
So when I get my farm share,
Yeah.
is it coming from these community gardens?
It's not coming
or
from
where is
there.
that coming
Yeah,
from?
so this little part is the community garden, and the rest of the land you're looking at, kind of from here down to the woods, is Just Roots land. So we grow about 7 acres here on the main farm, and then we have about 5 acres from neighbors. So we're growing about 12 acres of land right now for our CSA, for our farmers market, and for some donation partners. We work closely with Stone Soup Cafe and the Center for Self-Reliance Food Pantry. Those are our 2 emergency food pantries we work with. So we kind of do food security at all levels. If we peek in this greenhouse, you're going to see all your garlic that's curing. That was
Nice.
grown in our field across the creek. You're going to see cucumbers growing in there. You're going to see your tomatoes in some of our hoop houses, and you're also looking at our pick your own shed, which is where our members can come and participate in the harvest as well.
You're farming 7 acres, but you're stewarding 61. What's happening on the other 54 acres?
Yeah, so a lot of it is, of course, infrastructure and wetlands and woodlands. We have the garden here, of course. We also sublease to other farmers and local businesses. So we helped incubate the compost cooperative when they were first starting. They just had a tent here and washed their disgusting bins here. And so we were like, I don't think we have enough water for this. Yeah.
Maybe donate a little compost.
Exactly. Yeah, they would. And they still donate compost. So they come every week to our compost pile down the road, and they dump off stuff from like other local organizations, which is really sweet. We lease 4 acres to Sage Farm, who's a local pig farmer in town, actually in Bernardston. We rent space to the Greenfield Tree Committee. They come here and they grow out native shade trees, and once they're ready to go, they plant them downtown. And we also have a small, about 1/4 acre plot in our field across the creek to Blue Crow Botanicals, who's a local medicinal herb farmer. And she was here even before I came. I showed up, I'm like, whose garden is this? And they're like, this is Blue Crow Botanicals. So we really try to use our land as a resource to other small organizations or local organizations, and try to incubate or support those businesses as well.
How unique is what Just Roots is doing amongst the other farms that you handle at CISA?
It's pretty amazing because they're not only making sure that, say, the community has garden space if they want to do it themselves. They're also always at the farmers market, and they always are there making sure, people are asking them questions about stuff. They know the answers. And then also when we were having trouble with keeping the farmers market going in downtown, because the people who had been running it for years wanted to be done. They were ready to step back and retire. Just Roots stepped in. It's such a bedrock for the community. It really is.
One thing that actually kept us going too is that we really started buying in from other local farms. So part of like all those climate disasters where we lost tons of crops, the reason we were able to keep our CSA going is because we've invested millions of dollars in other local farms. We support Warner Farm and Bardwell and Kitchen Garden and small farms like Foxtrot Farm and Fernhill Farm up in Buckland. So we are a place also the way we can expand our CSA, going from 30 35 members in 2011 to 450 now isn't because we're growing everything. We kind of know we can't, but we buy in. Like, we're getting sweet corn every week right now from Warner, and they're amazing.
I had the Warner corn yesterday.
Yeah, it's so good. And it's like, we can't grow corn. A, the animals eat it all. B, we just don't have the space. Just speaking to like the $100 million in HIP that we were able to spend in Massachusetts from 2017, that gave us the economic drive of almost $200 million. And it's the same with what we do here, where last year we put in $250,000 back into local farms. Reed Farm, chickens, oh my God, they're amazing. Flag Farm, all these places that are local to us. So we're able to drive local economies just through our food purchasing, just for our CSA. So it's a really like, we're all supporting each other right now. And I think that's where, kind of around COVID is when we really said, let's do this more in partnership with other farms. And it's really helped to sort of support us all. Back to that like grassroots, Franklin County coming together, supporting each other.
You're running the Greenfield Farmers Market now. I mentioned the history of Just Roots and its importance in feeding the community, historically the poor farm and all that. The Greenfield Farmers Market was founded by one of my idols, Juanita Nelson, who had a mission of making sure people had enough to eat. Clarissa said that the folks who were running it have retired. And tell us about the new generation of people that are keeping Juanita Nelson's legacy, which includes the Harvest Supper, which will happen again with Stone Soup Cafe very shortly in August, in the same location as the farmers market. Who's running the farmers market besides you now?
So we are totally farmers run. We are accountable to the farmers who attend our market. I'm currently the farmers market manager, and I report to Merrill, the owner, and the steering committee, which is made up of Dave's Natural Garden, who vend there, Sunrise Maple Farms, also a longtime vendor for decades. They are a multi-generational family farm. It's just important that we take care of one another. This is one of the oldest farmers markets in the state of Massachusetts. We just celebrated 51 years, 51 seasons of a farmers market that was started by the farmers in the community. Many farms who are still coming there, like Clarkdale Fruit Farms. They are a big deal.
Good Ben Clark.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you guys, Taylor's amazing. She also was a vendor at the market selling her amazing cookies. Oh my God, I can never say it right. Macarons.
Macarons.
But they're so delicious. My kiddo's obsessed. But, Taylor's really brought this year as the new market manager just a lot of energy to say, like, come on, everybody, come back out. We really, the markets all took a hit during kind of the pandemic and really slowly have been kind of getting that foot traffic back. And Taylor has been amazing. It's really fun to be there right now. Yeah, what do you guys want to see here? You want to poke and see the garlic?
High tunnels, the greenhouses, the big fans running. Look at all that garlic.
Smells amazing.
It's like you just stand here and you're like,
It's like, yeah.
This is the safest place from vampires in all of Franklin County.
It truly is. This was a nice garlic harvest. This was our one and only heated greenhouse until 2021 when we got a nice grant from MDAR to put in a bigger greenhouse. And now we can actually support all of our production and do our seedling sale.
How much has the farm grown in your 10 years of being here?
It's definitely grown like in terms of like membership, right? Like I mentioned, I think when I started it was 2017 and we had about a little over 100 CSA members. And we were operating we set up downtown in the little alleyway next to the food co-op. That was one of our pickups, and we only did one pickup here at the farm. So we've always sort of taken our show on the road. We still do on Thursdays. We're downtown on Main Street across from the Community Health Center. So we do have two pickups here and one down there. But so we had a small CSA. We were just getting back into doing the farmers market, and we hadn't yet launched our food as medicine work. That's a huge program of ours that launched in 2020, where we actually work with accountable care organizations to provide free vegetables, protein, and cookware kits to people all across the state. And that's a program through Mass Health and through the 1115 waiver here. So that was a huge turning point for our organization. And we work with 7 other organizations across the Commonwealth: World Farmers, Food for Free in Cambridge, Nourishing the North Shore, Berkshire Bounty, all sorts of different places where we sort of operate the back-end hub to connect food insecure patients who also have a diet-related illness to free CSA boxes and protein shares and cookware kits and cooking support and recipes and literal casework, bilingual casework out of our operation. So 2020 was a real turning point and growth year for Just Roots. So now we sort of have our local farm where we're at, our local CSA, which has really gotten big, the farmers market where we've become more of a core member, and then the food is medicine work, which is really state and nationally. We've become a secret leader there, or maybe not so secret, but yeah, we've really kind of been plugged into the food is medicine Massachusetts work. And we sit on the DTA Greenfield Advisory Committee and Make Hunger History Massachusetts and the working groups for the Hunger Task Force that the governor started. So we kind of consider ourselves this like big little farm where we're here we are in North Greenfield doing our thing, but we're also at the table with a lot of these conversations. And the main thing we're bringing kind of beyond food security is like support local farms. Let's do food security work, but let's do it with local farms. Let's build local food economy, and that's really the messaging. So yeah, it's gotten really big. Yeah, and I came on as the farm manager, so my role's also shifted into just more of that nonprofit administration and sort of supporting other young farmers to run community farms, and they're complicated and they're beautiful, and like how do we keep doing what we're doing here? Yeah. Fun. Here's our cucumber tunnel, which is starting to fade out, but oh my gosh, they're kind of wild and amazing.
They're all trellised. It's pretty
They're all
cool.
trellised. The one thing I don't miss about farming is harvesting cucumbers, guys. I just like, it breaks your back, it breaks your body, it breaks your soul a little bit. And it's so hard for such a short time, and you know you're going to get through it, but man, it's hard. Oh yeah, this beautiful weed palace here that we're looking at, this is going to be, this is usually our basil tunnel, but the fans broke. So it was so hot, we were like, we can't put basil in here. So this will be winter greens once we fix our fans.
It looks like the hay fever high tunnel.
Don't go in there if you want to, if you want to stop breathing for a second. Then we've got a bunch of peppers in this tunnel. We started, once we expanded our high tunnel operation, we were able to move some things like peppers in inside, which just like it hotter. And
I can smell them right away.
yeah, they're just like,
door.
they're so much more productive in here, and we don't have to grow as many in the field when we can grow them in here because the plants are literally dripping with peppers, and it's just been a really nice addition. Our farm manager, Fran Kleinsteiber, comes from Riverland Farm.
Which was my original CSA.
Oh my God, full circle. So they've brought a lot of just different wholesale sensibilities and methods that I didn't come with because I never worked on a wholesale farm. So there's a lot of fun, like, oh, let's bring this into the tunnel, or let's use more bulk bins, Meryl. Like, fine. You mean you don't want to lift everything one at a time by hand?
Yeah.
They've really taken us to a more efficient level. This was overwintered onions in here. Our program operates year-round, so we do weekly in the summer months, which is June to October, and then we do monthly from November to May. And so we had overwintered onions in there, and that'll be kale for the winter months. And we have a lot of apple trees around. We're really focused on native pollinator habitat. We have a whole native pollinator garden and meadow, and we do different apple trees, and we have beach plums and red stem dogwoods, and we try to have habitat, whether shrubby or herbaceous, in each of our fields to really encourage pollination. And we really look at our farm as a whole ecosystem. So beyond just growing our annual vegetables, how are we sort of like really getting more life and habitat to the farm? And it engages all sorts of different people in our community who are way more interested in native pollinator habitat than tomatoes in a high tunnel. So, just different ways to engage people. We do workshops on, we're having a fermented soda workshop coming up this month, and some of our local farms like Milk and Honey Herbs, Jade Alessandro, she runs classes out of here where they kind of wander the fence line, foraging medicine that I have no idea what it is. I'm like, wow, I was gonna mow that. They're like, no, don't mow it. I'm like, okay, fine. Everybody,
or at least not yet.
yes, everybody brings a little something extra to this piece of land that really like teaches us how to steward it better, which is really fun.
So I'm noticing with your tomatoes, you've got basil co-planted.
It's just like a growing Caprese salad.
Exactly.
Grow some mozzarella in
We just
there
need some
somehow.
mods.
And I think, it definitely looks lemon balm-ish, but probably not. But also in between your high tunnels,
Yes.
you have zinnias and like echinacea, were they part of that, or was that always a thing that has happened here to have like pollinating plants, or like plants that will bring more pollinators situated in between some of the places that don't necessarily have high bee traffic or like pollinator traffic?
Yeah, it's been that way for probably the last like 6 years. Once we kind of got settled into like, okay, this is, our farm is growing. Once we connected with Greening Greenfield about just these like pollinator corridors that could be, and then we had some bees that were really close to our CSA distribution, and they started to really get annoyed at the increased traffic of people. So we're like, we have to move these beehives. And once we did, we're like, let's not put them back. Let's really focus on creating more native pollinator habitat. And so we have like little pockets all across the farm to really increase the pollination just without the honeybees. And it's been really fun, and like no diss on honeybees, we love them too. But we're like, what if we just really pushed the native pollinator habitat? And there's people in our community that have done all the research, have the lists of seeds. So we've been working with like, all right, let's do that seed list, or let's buy a starter kit from Wing and a Prayer up in Cummington and plant out a little garden from them. And that's, so everybody's doing this work. And so we didn't have to invent it, but we did take some time, money, grants, support to like really invest in it. And we're really thinking about working with a new landscape company, Abound Design out of Amherst, to think about the front of our barn too, to really tie that into like, let's do new plantings up there too. So the whole property is kind of like a fun canvas for us to explore, and it's fun not having to do the annual production myself, where I get to think about those gardens now.
Yeah.
Be like, Fran, I'm gonna go work on the pollinator garden. And they're like, okay.
You get to do big
I'm like,
picture
can
thinking.
I have some crew? And they're like, no, not at all. We have to go harvest cucumbers.
Yeah.
So
Don't miss
fun.
that.
It's pretty fun. And the people working at who volunteer Greening Greenfield, they're amazing. They're so smart. They've taught me so much about just different habitat, different local and native plants that I just never knew was going to be kind of on my own path. And Fran also tried to do like these cool like herb corridors in between the high tunnels. It got away from us. I think we're not the only farm in town who's wicked weedy this year. I think the heat waves, this really didn't do, but you know what? That's what we do here. We put ground cloth down, we planted alyssum, and this literally has like sage and thyme under it. It's a no-go this year. That's fine.
Your time's doing fine.
Yeah, the alyssum is really popping,
It'll
and
be there forever.
you
'cause
know
time,
what? Yeah, you
time
just
refuses to die.
It's so great, and farming is an exercise in like failing over and over again and just getting up and going, good thing we get to do this again next year.
Yeah.
It's hard. When I meet perfectionist farmers, I feel really bad for them. I'm not, thank God. It's too hard to get everything perfect. It's really not possible, I think. Although, I don't know. I've seen some beautiful farms out here. But we tolerate some weeds, I guess we'll say.
When did you guys start doing delivery, and how important was that for like
yeah.
where your CSA is now?
That's a great question. Delivery actually started in 2020
Oh,
with
hey!
our Food is Medicine program. We were never intending to do doorstep delivery. With our Food is Medicine, we were going to work with Boston Children's Hospital clinics in Northampton, Holyoke, and Springfield, and we were going to go show up at the clinics with our share, like with our whole show on the road, like we do downtown Greenfield. And then March 2020, and we said, okay, that's not going to work. And we had this huge box truck and this little minivan, and we're like, well, we're going to do doorstep delivery. And then it was like, that was the thing that people loved the most. They were like, this is how I can do this. I'm not going to be able to get to the clinic. I'm not going to be able to get to a pickup. So we just said, okay, we rearranged how we did that program, and we never looked back. So we've done doorstep delivery with our Food is Medicine, which was anywhere at that time from Southwick to Bernardston. It was all up and down the 91 corridor. And now we just, a few years ago, we said, well, we're already delivering. We're like, why don't we just add local folks? At first it was just Greenfield, like, okay, if you're in Greenfield, we can deliver to you. But now this year we really made the choice to intentionally just choose all of Franklin County and see how that went. And it's a small list, but it's a list of folks that really cannot get to the farm for one reason or another, and we can get there. So we've added that program, and right now we're doing it at no cost, and we'll see if we can keep doing that.
What are you seeing with like leafy greens this year? Like, are you seeing more people buying lettuce from you, or less people, or?
Because they don't want explosive diarrhea.
Yeah,
I mean, I wasn't gonna say that.
Oh, I am. I'll say it every time I get a chance.
Love it. Who doesn't love it?
Yeah, I was saying it before. It's cool. I'll just let everybody know. I was like, look at how much everybody is saying explosive diarrhea right now. I always called it explosive diarrhea. It's the only kind of diarrhea, in my opinion.
Wow!
Diarrhea is like a storm raging outside your window.
We try not
Yeah.
to say explosive diarrhea at the farm
Yeah.
stand, but we say it out in the field.
Yeah,
a lot.
right.
Yeah, no,
So
it's fine.
anyway, are people, does that mean people are buying more greens from you?
Oh my God. So anyway, I mean, I do think there is a reminder of just like how it is so great to know your farmer and so great to shop local and to know like we can say like these are our practices. This is how we harvest. This is how we wash. You can trust our practices and we're eating this too and we don't have explosive diarrhea. I think it's always great to just like remind ourselves that like very large national food chains like there are risks sometimes and we can decrease that risk by really investing in local farms. We can know our farmers, we can feel that safety, and it's an incredible gift. And I think we have seen some people shopping at the market and being like, how's your lettuce? And we're like, it's good, we got you. Like,
I'll
here
eat
you
it
go.
right in front of you.
I will eat you right, yeah, exactly. And like even our raspberries too, just people feeling like they can come pick their own raspberries. So I think there is a really wonderful level of just like, like a deep breath, I can trust this product, I can trust this farmer, and that's a really, really great place to be.
Local food tastes so much better.
Truth.
Know your farmer.
And meet them all at the Greenfield Farmers Market.
I say this, I sound like a broken record, but the longer it takes for your food to get to a market, flavor has a half-life. Every mile decreases how intense it tastes or like how pure it tastes like from the field. So like getting your stuff locally means you're getting something that really tastes like it's supposed to taste.
And so many less hands are touching it. I mean, I think that's just a fact. And so just thinking about that as you're thinking about food safety is a really nice thing to think about.
And also still wash your vegetables.
And also,
Never hurts.
yes, still wash your vegetables. That is so real.
Well, thank you so much for coming on this tour with us. Taylor
for
and Clarissa
being here.
and Meryl for giving us this tour of Just Roots. It makes me feel proud to have a farm share here.
Yay, I'm so glad you remember. This is so awesome. I'm going to have to remember this for, if I need a quote.
Feel free.
Yes, famous town person Monty Belmonte is a CSA share member and loves it.
I mean, like Amber Cinema's already got him up on a screen. Just
I know.
take a picture and throw it up somewhere.
Yes.
It's true.
And find out more information on all of our local hero farms and businesses at buylocalfood.org.
Also, CISA is now an underwriter, but we were talking with them way before they did that.
Facts. Soon we'll explore our own languages contained multitudes with interim word nerd Peter Sokolowski and a dive into pluralization.
After we talk with Lexi Walters-Wright of High Five Books about her delightful store, which is one of the many stops on the Pioneer Valley Book Crawl.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Visiting Angels West Springfield, providing home care for seniors and veterans in Hampden County, including Pocket RN, a virtual Medicare-approved dementia care program. visitingangels.com/West Springfield. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by CISA, community involved in sustaining agriculture, offering a searchable online guide to local food and farms. More information at buylocalfood.org.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
H-I-J-K-L-M-N-O-P. One for the master, one for the knave.
Like a diamond in the sky. We're gonna bring you up.
Oh no!
Friends, did you know that police from the radio station is here? Police! A long time ago, you wrote a book.
I wrote a book. It's this book, in fact.
Would you read us this book? Yay! Would you sit right here and read that book for us?
Sure.
Thanks, Police!
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Police!
So I wrote this book with my friend Holly Black about a black night. I'm betting that no one in this room who is a baby knows what a night is. Or why it would be important that we highlight black ones. But that's why we wrote this for her son who is black and for my cousins and nephew who is black like me. But it's a fun story, so let's get into it. Sir Morian, the legend of the Knight of a Round Table. Prince Morian was brave and clever and true. He lived with his mother, a princess in northern Africa. Together they went on many quests, doing good and having daring adventures. They tamed a dragon in Timbuktu, they surfed with crocodiles on the Nile, and vanquished every last vegetable on the dinner table. But Morian was sad he'd never met his father, Sir Aglavale. Your father went on a quest and he hasn't yet returned, his mother told him. Well, I will go on a quest to find him, said Morian.
Lexi Walters Wright from High Five Books here in Florence. We have descended upon your baby's group.
My baby mania, it's true. This is the most fun you can legally have before 9 a.m.
Yeah.
We have somewhere between 20 and 50 babies who like to come on Fridays and Saturdays.
That one is eating their book.
Yeah.
It's eating looks like an Eric Carle kind
Yes.
of squishy
That
book.
baby has excellent taste.
Are any of these babies available for me?
I'm sorry, but none of these available babies are coming home with you. That's weird.
Can I borrow them
But
here?
I can ask. We can ask around and see. There are at least
It's like a
two
baby
sets of
lending
twins.
library.
Yeah, a baby share.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to
I
start
love
here
that.
in Western
That's what I
Massachusetts.
need.
Is a baby share.
That's an important service that somebody should start providing.
Well,
100%.
well, maybe we'll let these babies continue to roam around here, and we'll go
Yeah, yeah, you
outside
can
on your
chat.
little patio
Let's do it.
and
Let's
talk
chat.
about why we're really here at High Five Books. You've got a beautiful patio out here, right along. This is Main Street in Florence, right?
It's true. We are at 141 North Main Street. This is the old Alexander's Market.
It's also funny that children's book author and illustrator Jarrett J. Krasoska used to live literally right around the corner.
It's
from
true. He wrote the Lunch Lady series 2 doors down from us.
Uh-huh. And so, Lexi, when did you start High Five Books?
2019. It was about 4 months before the pandemic. No big deal.
Good
Do you
timing.
guys remember that?
I don't.
How was that? That's got to be an interesting way to start because, like, you got this new business, but you've also got, like, entertainment that everybody got into during the pandemic, too. Like,
yeah.
people remembered how to read.
Totally. Everybody remembered that their eyeballs, if they are working, were good for reading. We opened 4 months before the pandemic, then all the libraries closed, then all the schools were closed. And yet birthdays didn't stop. And so we needed to be able to get books to families as quickly as possible. So for about 18 months, I delivered from Brattleboro to Springfield. I would fill the back of my hatchback with bags and bags of books, and I would come to people's houses with my mask on. I would wear my hazmat suit and be a sort of bookish Santa Claus and deliver these packages on doors, and it was amazing. And I got to meet a ton of families. And then when the world opened back up, they remembered us. But we actually haven't slowed down since 2019.
What made you want to start a children's specific bookstore in the first place?
Children are the best. Families are the greatest. Children's literature has never been more inclusive than it is right now. The barriers for so many folks to have books published in the past, we haven't eliminated those barriers, but folks whose voices haven't been heard before are getting into Kidlit. It felt like the richest, most exciting time to be in children's publishing. Before this, I was an editor for 20 years, and so I was always in the sort of business of making media, but this is a totally different brain. It is so rad to get to work with the families in this community. You two know, this is the coolest place. And the children in this town are really exceptional. And so it's a real delight to find the book that ignites them and helps them feel seen in the world.
Talk about those changes in children's literature and how it informs what you keep in High Five.
Yeah. From the jump, High Five Books has always been a joyful, affirming, inclusive space for families. And so we knew that anything that we created in terms of programming and all of the books that we bring in had to really fit into those categories. They had to be celebrating the folks who were making them. They had to be affirming of the experience of both the characters from their lived experience and in the moment in time in which they are being seen. Also, we live in Western Massachusetts, which is the most beautiful collection of queer families. How there wasn't a space that celebrated that felt like an omission, and I felt called to help bring that into the world.
We're with Lexi Walters Wright at High Five Books right here on North Main Street in Florence. We live in an area that is not only inclusive and wonderful when it comes to families, but also happens to have or have had some of the icons of kids lit for the last century that are connected up and down
Absolutely.
the valley here. Talk about the relationships High Five has with some of the folks that are making these books now.
Yes.
I'll mention you when they come on our show to talk about their new books.
Right, or when we go into High Five, they've all done their little illustrations behind the counter there.
Yeah,
Beautiful stuff.
yeah. So, Kidlit people, and Khalees, you know this. You are a Kidlit person.
Now I am.
Now you are. Kidlit people are so committed to families. They are so committed to the joy of connecting with young people. We live in an area that is just lousy with authors and illustrators, and it has been that way for so long that it almost feels like the water that we're swimming in. There's just talent everywhere, and I feel so lucky that so many of those authors and illustrators use us as their home base for the boosting of new books, to get folks excited about their work. I know that we're doing something a little bit different. I know that a kids-specific store can, in many ways, feel like too niche or too precious, but I really think that this is a moment where every kid can find their book. They are going to fall in love with that book, and we take that task very, very seriously here.
Talk about some of the events that you've done outside of the bookstore, because we've also seen you host things at Bombyx, like have authors come in on tour or who are in the area with like a new release coming out and like put them in larger spaces to get them in front of more folks than your store holds.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our store is actually quite small. We're about 1,000 square feet. And so we have these incredible partnerships with folks like Bombyx and like the Academy of Music to put authors and illustrators in front of kids in a way that changes how they experience their favorite work. The most exciting thing for me is for a kid to have an interaction with their creator, with that illustrator or that author, in a way that helps them feel totally seen by that person. Kids feel that connection to authors and illustrators. They're so devoted to the work. And of course, when you're talking to somebody who puts so many hours into this work, you know, Khalees, that kids are like, how'd you do it? They really, really care. And I think that there's something so beautiful about being able to put kids right now in front of the folks who write the books for them. We just had Tui Sutherland at the Academy of Music. We're announcing another Academy show. In October, we're going to be bringing Tony DiTerlizzi and Jeff Kinney to the stage at the Academy of Music to celebrate their new books, The Wump and the new Raleigh Jefferson's Scary Things #2. So we're going to have a Wimp and Wump show over at the Academy. We are going to continue to host our trans book clubs here this year. We've been running those here at High Five Books for 7 years. We're doubling that this year. We'll have trans book clubs for kiddos between the ages of 7 and 12, and then now book clubs for older trans kiddos between the ages of 13 and 16.
How many kids are you working with that identify as trans? I'm imagining that this becomes a pivotal place for them.
Hundreds and hundreds of
Really?
families.
Yeah, wow.
It feels incredible that families have found us, that they are using us as their hub to create connections among other trans families. We work, of course, in partnership with Translate Gender and with Trans Health to make sure that we are offering just as many wraparound services to young families as we possibly can.
Which is rare for a bookstore.
We all live in community together, Monty. We all live in community together, and it is hard to be a person in the world right now.
That's it. Do you experience pushback?
Yeah.
I'll also say, briefly, there is a bookstore in Greenfield that is being trolled by people because of how pro-trans they have been.
Yep.
Mean, nasty messages being written on their windows and things like that. So you are taking a risk when you identify this way.
That risk is worth it. It is right now time to be as loud about supporting young trans kids as we possibly can, because what we know is that young queer and trans kids deserve to grow up to be loved, seen, held queer and trans adults. Right now, it is up to us grown-ups to hold that space for kids and to be loud if we need to be.
It's been proven that lack of acceptance can equal death. Having that acceptance in that space there and seeing yourself is very important on a lot of levels.
Right, and what we know is that it takes one grown-up, one supportive grown-up, to be the difference in a kid's world.
We're with Lexi Walters-Wright, who founded High Five Books right here in Florence. We're also living in an era where if people are deciding to read, one of the world's richest men will deliver a book to you that afternoon.
In 12 hours, less. In less than 12 hours. I mean, it's something interesting, Monty, because we have to actually change the way that people expect to receive things. Our expectations of how fast everything needs to happen, of how quickly we need to receive the items in our world. Look, I can't deliver faster than Amazon, and I don't have a bigger selection. But I do have the next book in the series that your kid told me that they loved. And I do have the birthday present for the party, and I will wrap it. And if you forget it at our store, I'll probably drop it on your porch too. Take that, Jeff Bezos.
I mean, we are lousy with children's book authors and illustrators. We're lousy with authors in general. And we're also kind of lucky and lousy with independent bookstores like High Five Books.
Isn't that the truth?
And you are part of something that's going on now through the end of August, the Pioneer Valley Bookstore Crawl.
It's true. That's right. We are 16 participating bookstores this year. If folks get 10 stamps, they are entered to win an $800. Oh, I know.
Wow.
I know,
My eyes
Monty.
lit up.
I know.
An $800 gift card for books. Every time you visit more than 4, you are entered into a raffle for a $25 gift card. This is a way of us rising the tides for all of the book-selling boats.
So what you mean is this is a way for me to pay for all of the Booker Prize books that I now have to read.
There are some books. Obama gave us a great list.
Yes,
for the summer.
And Vincent Yu, who we had on our show, who's a local author, was on that list.
I
He is
saw
the
that.
NEPM featured book club author of this particular book club with NEPM.
Let's talk about the award you just won from the state.
Oh, Lindsay Sabadosa. What an amazing
wanna-
human being.
Yeah.
It's his birthday and I wanted your autograph.
Oh, Khalees is, we have to pause the interview because it's time for Khalees to sign an autograph.
It's a first birthday.
Happy birthday, buddy.
That's it. See you soon, friends. Thank you for being so generous.
Oh, no problem.
It's the sweetest thing in the world when people are trying to get an autograph from somebody, because even here in the Valley where we have so many writers, it's impossible not to just sort of sidle up to
You're just
someone.
sort of like, I know you're busy, but
I think that I am so invested in that part too of authors and illustrators being able to see kids experiencing their work and how delightful it is. I just love bearing witness to that moment.
Back to your award.
Blah, blah, blah. Tiny award. The incredible Lindsay Sabadosa nominated me.
Representative from
Yes.
this district on Beacon Hill.
Thank you. Nominated me for a really prestigious award called the Commonwealth Heroines Award.
Wow.
Thank you. And she nominated me on behalf of the work that we do here at High Five Books for queer youth. I am immensely, immensely grateful for her recognition. And the two of you know that Lindsay is the person on the streets doing the work. So getting recognized by somebody who herself is pounding the pavement for the Commonwealth at every turn feels silly, really. But also I'm deeply appreciative. I know how much work it takes to make fun happen in this valley, and I know how much work it takes to make change happen in this valley, so it feels immensely gratifying to be recognized for that work.
especially from your perspective as like someone who worked in publishing and now somebody who owns a bookstore, talk about the rise and the validation of YA.
Which is young adult
adults.
literature.
Yeah, young adult fiction. So when I was growing up, there wasn't the YA. Young adult books right now are reflecting the experiences of teens in this world. It is a messy time to be a teen, and it is a sweet time to have identity affirmed, to be in community with people who just elate you, and also to find folks who are as deeply passionate about the thing as you are. And in most YA books, there is the commonality. But what is really beautiful is to watch Black and brown creators and queer and trans creators be able to get their stories into the hands of the next generation of kids who are going to see themselves in those stories. And we've waited a long time, and we're so ready.
There's a lot of really good stuff coming out all the time.
Totally, and in YA specifically right now, what teens are especially interested in is murder. We really like murder as teens. There's a series called The Good Girl's Guide to Murder that has been flying off the shelves for several years. There's an accompanying TV show. But the dark and creepy is having a moment.
Yeah.
Dark fantasy dark sci-fi now. There is so much available. Our teens are reading a lot of queer romance right now, with Heartstopper 6 having come out recently. I know you both are finished with this. You watched the movie. You finished the movie.
I read the first 3 books.
I read it as a web series.
Okay, that's a deep cut. You get some credit
I've
for
seen
that.
the end.
Book number 6 came out, and we had a midnight release party for it, and it was even more full than Baby Group, and that is saying something.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your Commonwealth Heroine Award.
Thank you very much. Thank you kindly.
And if you can come into any of these 16 bookstores
It's true.
up and down the valley and
Yeah, we want you to visit all
participate.
of the bookstores. Even if they're not part of the Valley Bookstore Crawl, you should go to a bookstore this summer because they're incredible. And there are so many newer bookstores that are part of our crawl this year. Check them all out. We think that we've gotten you from Greenfield all the way to Springfield.
It looks like it.
Books a go-go this summertime. It is a great time for books.
And later, Sir Morian, Sir Gawain, and Sir Lancelot looked up at the stars, and they knew that they would be questing buddies, best friends, and brave knights forever.
I have to push the
Pramala.
We could just play this out to the end.
A quick search online for Pioneer Valley Book Crawl brings up the printable passport, which you can take everywhere and fill it out by the 31st.
Now, Merriam-Webster editor-at-large Peter Sokolowski parses out the particulars of plurals in the English language as our interim word nerd.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
Time for another segment with our interim word nerd and our friend from NEPM, Peter Sokolowski, editor at Merriam-Webster's Dictionary based in Springfield, and Jazz Alamode, host here at NEPM.
Jazz at 8.
We're going to talk plurals today, and you have a question for us, interim word nerd.
Yeah. I mean, when you work on dictionaries, you end up looking so carefully and closely, like through a microscope, at words, that you sometimes notice things that might have been the kind of things that you take for granted. For example, do you think that what we call the growth of hair on the upper lip of an adult is singular or plural?
Mustaches versus mustache. I would say
mustache feels singular just because I'm accustomed to the English proclivity to put S's on the ends of things.
But given the fact that you're asking us this question, it's probably plural.
Well, of course, the answer is it's both. Most of us today use it as a singular. He has a mustache, or they have a mustache. That's not a problem. It becomes a kind of funny philosophical question, like, do you divide it into two or don't you?
Do you mean the two halves of your
the
lip?
two halves.
Yeah.
I'm going to grow half a
okay.
mustache.
So half of it would be the mustache.
And also, is it divided by your nose, or do you use that technical word, philtrum?
I love that word.
Philtrum, which is the division between the two halves of your upper lip.
Where the angels press on your face to make you
Exactly.
forget your soulmate.
Yes.
Well, these are all fun terms, but basically, no, this is a word that came into English from Italian and French. The mustache that we use today is really kind of a Frenchy,
Sounds French.
French clothing on the word, but it came into English as a plural because mustaccio, which is the Italian word, was brought into English by Christopher Marlowe and others, writers of the time of Shakespeare, as a plural, like mustachios. And if you look back into the literature of the late 1500s, it's mustaches or mustachios kind of used interchangeably. So you had a kind of Frenchy version and an Italian-y version, but they meant the same thing. They meant what we would actually call it, with a good old-fashioned English word, whiskers.
Whiskers.
Which of course was also used to mean exactly the same thing. Now we probably use whiskers more often to refer to cats, but it still means that, right? We still would understand if someone said whiskers. It might feel a little old-fashioned or a little poetic. But that term mustache, it's interesting, is that the way it settled into the English language. If it was first used even by Shakespeare in that Italian, I'll call it the Italian clothing, mustaccio, which is how Shakespeare used it in Love's Labour's Lost, but his rival, Christopher Marlowe, used it as mustachios as a plural. So it was obviously a floating form, a little bit, of each. And it's interesting that we identify whisker as a singular is really meaning just the one, right? Buy a whisker, for example, is an idiom that we have. But then what we find is when the first real comprehensive dictionary of English was made, Samuel Johnson's dictionary, 1755. You're now talking 150 years after Shakespeare. He only enters the word as a plural but with the French spelling, so mustaches. He does actually give it a little synonym, whiskers. So they were the same. They were both pluralized. They were both the same. And Noah Webster, 1828, also similarly defines it as a plural, mustaches.
But with the S, not mustache singular, meaning a plural, but just sounding singular.
Exactly.
Right.
No, which is our evidence that to them, the usual way of referring to what I would call a mustache is by saying mustaches. So it was a plural that then sort of vanishes. Dickens used the plural, so now you're talking, 50 years later, and you see by George Eliot, the late 1800s, and Arthur Conan Doyle, they used it as a singular. So you saw this kind of teeter on both directions and then kind of settle into the singular. I will say that the most famous mustache in literary history is probably that of Hercule Poirot, and Agatha Christie used it both ways. And this leads us to, I think, the most interesting piece of this little corner of English, which is that English has decided that the plural can remain, but we have this entry for mustachios, and we use it to mean an exaggerated or extra large or maybe villainous or cartoonish mustache.
We'll see a mustachioed villain.
Exactly.
Yes.
And
right.
so we have a quotation here, a lot of supervillains with updates on the waxed mustachios.
Yes.
So English has decided to kind of adopt both forms of this word and make, as we often do, one form a subset of the other, the generic term being now mustache, and the plural term being the more Italian form is the one that we use for an exaggerated or evil version.
My college buddy believed in the theory that mustaches skip a generation. So my dad, my whole life, had a mustache. I never really have for any consistent amount of time, but my 21-year-old son has a mustache.
Atticus absolutely does.
There's something to that. There's something to that. And it's funny when you think of like the bearded U.S. presidents, for example.
Right.
It was a whole cluster of them who I believe were all Union generals, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And then after that, then never since, So, no, these things come in waves. So speaking of waves, that's another plural. And we say waves with an S, but we say water without an S, right? We say some water, but many waves. And my point here is just to isolate this little grammatical idea of a mass noun as opposed to a normal noun, because mustache, we are pluralizing in the normal way by adding an S, mustaches. But in English, if we don't pay attention to this, you might not notice how frequently we use plurals without an S, like air, some air, or the word equipment, the word furniture. We just we don't really pluralize these. In other words, the plural is a group of the same thing, like sand.
Right.
So a good comparison would be pebbles, some pebbles, but some sand. One gets an S and one doesn't. One is a count noun, you might say a count noun, one that you can count, and one that is a mass noun, one that is perceived as a single unit, like applause or photography or harm. We have terms like this. Now, there is a little footnote here, which is there's something called the zero plural, which is different from a mass noun. So animals, especially sheep, deer,
I was going to ask about
fish.
deer.
Fish is a good one. A shrimp, but also ethnicities. Japanese. We say the Japanese, not the Japaneses. And no, but if you follow English logically, you end up in funny corners.
Yes.
I have a French friend who was over for dinner and complimented the chef. Said, "I like these shrimps." And you realize it's funny to us, but it makes perfect logical sense.
Totally.
And that's just the way that the language has evolved. But there is a sort of special case for these mass nouns to sometimes carry an S. And the way I put it is that these special plurals are like tuxedos. You only take them out on special occasions. And the fact is their very oddness conveys a kind of immediate understanding that something different is being expressed when you say the waters of March, or the sands of Iwo Jima, or the snows of yesteryear, the labors of Hercules, or blue skies. And you realize we have a special category in English, and I just love the way that English finds these categorizations that is poetic. Loaves and fishes is a famous one.
Right.
And so what you realize is that our language is so flexible that we take forms that are fixed, that are understood, and play with them a little bit and actually normalize them, even though these are the exceptions to the norm. And by making them seem more normal, they're actually more exceptional.
I also love when in English, our descriptors are often before the noun,
Yes.
except for in things like attorneys general, where, that trips people up a lot of the time, where it's not attorney generals, it's attorneys general.
No, and I think you've hit on a super important corner of English, because I would call this a syntactical issue, because syntax is the way that words connect to each other. English modifiers come before the noun. So a hot day, a pretty woman, a long book. But in the French manner, you put the adjective after. And in fact, attorney general, sergeant major, poet laureate, professor emeritus, there's a lot of these, but every one of them is a special category of the thing. And so the position of the adjective is the French position, and the French position is the fancy position.
It does feel like they have the tuxedos out as well.
Yes, and there's a special kind of unconnected roaming version of this, which is the way that we have borrowed into English the word extraordinary a second time as extraordinaire. So if we were to say radio hosts extraordinaire,
Peter Sokolowski.
No, to refer to you two. But notice
You'd be mistaken.
when you put the adjective in the French position, it always is a fancier version of that noun.
That's true.
That does mean that we modify or pluralize the noun, and that's the funny part of this. Attorneys general, sergeants major, poets laureate, professors emeritus. And that can be confusing because a term like, for example, lieutenant colonel or sergeant major, both of those words that are borrowed from French have become nouns. And so even though you say sergeant major, what that means is the most important sergeant, which means the major is an adjective functionally in that little term, so that you pluralize the noun, not the adjective.
It is
Why
the
do
very
we do
model
this
of a
to
modern major general.
Why do we do this to ourselves? I'm thinking about the fact that if you say Englishes, though, you're not talking about people, you're talking about dialect.
Englishes.
Like when you start pluralizing ethnicities in that way, you're trying to be more specific about a part of it.
I love this particular exception because domains of knowledge, the study of ethnicities or musics or literatures, that kind of very self-conscious pluralizing does indicate that you are being very serious and you are categorizing the knowledge that you're talking about. In Englishes, that's a very good and helpful term, but it does identify that you're talking about these dialects, a whole collection of things, rather than the language as a kind of collective.
Right.
French's is mustard, though. Oh, no, wait, that's possessive. Right. That's a different type. And apostrophe S, very divisive and misunderstood in American English for sure on so many different signs.
Just thrown around willy-nilly.
I'm going to put some quotes around it and put a apostrophe and an S on whenever I want to pluralize
apostrophes in the middle of your sassoleles and just see what happens.
Yeah. Anytime anybody puts the Belmontes apostrophe S, I'm like, my what? Peter Sokolowski is one of Nerds Word, our coterie.
This has already gotten
stable of word nerds.
This wicket is so sticky.
Of words nerd that we have here at the fabulous 413 Merriam-Webster's Dictionary, based right here in Springfield, right down the street from the station here. Peter Sokolowski's on Jazz's a la mode on Thursday nights, and I'm sure would be happy to answer any questions you might have about the English language, or maybe even jazz. We had a great jazz conversation last week. TheFab413 at nepm.org. We're happy to ask him. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks, you.
Most nouns are made plural by just adding S. Words such as cats.
This is called The Rap for Making Plurals Learning Song by teacher Barbara Spiker, who has a whole bunch of rap songs about things about the English language.
Oh, man.
She seems like a well-intentioned white teacher who turns the chair around at the front of the class. I'll just say.
She keeps it real.
She keeps it real.
Gives us some straight
having
talk.
some real talk with these kids.
Here's some real
about
talk.
how rap can make things plural.
Referring back to our previous talk with Lexi Welters, right, of High Five Books, I have absolutely recommended Lore Olympus to people in this building. It is such a good series and so nuanced and so fantastic. You can still read it. No, you can't read it for free online anymore, but if you don't get it in paper, you can still read it online as it was originally presented. It is such a fantastic series. I cannot give it high enough praise.
And I do believe that the event that Lexi mentioned at the Academy of Music with Jeff Kinney of the Diary of a Wimpy
Just got
Kid
officially announced, yeah.
and Tony Dietrich-Lizzie of many books type of fame, the Wump and Wimp live
and
event
Wumpy.
they're having at the Academy of Music. Those tickets, I believe, are already on sale. On the next Fabulous 413, we'll talk with the directors of the Iron Horse in Northampton and the Drake in Amherst about their collaborative fundraiser, Miles for Music.
Plus, we'll meet storyteller, educator, and more Muriel Johnson, who has a one-night show at APE Gallery on Saturday.
And U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern will join us. Send us a question for him, thefab413 at nepm.org.
See you tomorrow, everybody.